Hello and welcome to this Inkscape tutorial in which I step out of my comfort zone as a physics maths teacher and try to draw a biology diagram, a plant cell, such as this one here. So let me scroll down and we'll show you how you can do that. First of all, the rectangle tool up there, and drag a rectangle. You can see mine's got rounded corners, yours might have square corners. I can reset it like that, in which case you can just drag it down there. So there's my basic outline. Next I'll Control D to duplicate that. Just drag it off the side and Control Shift drag a corner down there. I'm wanting that for my thickened part of the cell wall where the nucleus is. You can see there's a bit of snapping going on. I can turn that off and do that. Now I'm going to select both. Control D to duplicate both, and path intersection. I'll just delete this little bit now. That just gives me that little bit in the corner there. Now I want the inner cell wall. Now rather than Control D to duplicate, I'll do it now to show you, and drag it in. You can see that's not perfect because these walls are thinner and these ones are thicker. So I'll Control Z for that. Now I've still got the duplicate there, so we'll recommend duplicating that outer border, and then go into Path Dynamic Offset, and you can drag something down there and it's more uniform. I quite like that. I'll click that and Path, Object to Path, so that's a normal path now. If I hit N for the node tool, you can see there are nodes there, but I'll click away. And I want to form one object out of these two borders, so I'll go Path and Exclusion. Now you see if I click, I'll just make it green, that's the object there, and I've got that in the corner. Control Z. Now I want to make a combination of these two, so I'll select them both and Path Union. And there's my rough outline. It's a rather stylised cell, a perfectly geometrical cell at the moment, but we can put a bit of randomness into that shape as follows. First we select the object, and then this warp tool, which I've never used until now in Inkscape, and I can see now why it's useful. If I click on that, you can see my settings. You can hover over and get an explanation of each one of these, but I'll stick with these settings. And this is the push tool, and if I move over this, you can see you can push and pull, and even in here, and just go along and push or pull. Oops, that's a bit too much. I'll try and pull it back out, and so forth, to get a more imperfect shape or a bit more random shape. You can keep going forever, of course, but let's stop there. Select tool. So there's one use of the warp tool, but it does actually leave some square or sharp corners sometimes. So what I like to do is select the whole lot, N for the node tool, then again select with the node tool and highlights all the nodes, and I click here to make them smooth nodes. Just smooths things up a bit. Now while they're selected, Control L smooths the path. You can also get that from Path, I think somewhere down here. Sorry, Simplify. Yeah, simplify the path or smooth the path. So I can do that, and I'll do that a couple of times. Control L. You can see if you hold it down, it really doesn't do much after a while. You can see that's about as simple as Inkscape can make it. Just clicking on that one there, you can see I've got two nodes close together. You might want to click on one and just delete it. That can sometimes smooth things up a bit as well. Even here looks a bit sharp. If I click there, actually clicking there, yeah, that's not. See these tangents go off at different parts. I'll try again to smooth all of these out, as make them smooth nodes. Again, drag around and click there. Maybe I didn't do it properly before. That smooths things out a bit. So there's my nice randomy wobbly cell. Now I can use that warp tool again on the various bits that go in here, but let's use the ellipse tool and drag out a cell nucleus. Perhaps make it this colour, and again while it's selected, the warp tool maybe push it, pull it a bit. Oh, I'm going a bit too far there, and go backwards. Okay, I'll stop there before I make it even worse, and put it in there. Of course you can drag a corner, Control Shift to scale that down if you think that helps. Now while I've got that cell nucleus, I could Control C that, Control V over here, and maybe draw a chloroplast or something like that. I can again use the push pull tool with it selected, just change its shape a bit. Or I might actually start again from scratch. I'm getting a bit too complicated there. I'll delete that, do an ellipse, make it green. Now use the push pull tool or the warp tool, click on that. Oh, yeah. Look, I might stop there, quick while I'm ahead. And now I want quite a few chloroplasts, say, in the cell there. I'll Control D to duplicate, just put one at the side there in case I need it later. Now with that selected, I can select the item spray object tool, and there are different settings here. You can check these out or pause the video. But with that selected, if I then just click, I can click and drag. I've got it set not to overlap, so you can do that. Now again, I don't want them all the same probably, so I'll select them all using the warp tool. I'll zoom in and I'll just change some shapes a bit. Yeah, just randomise. You only probably have to do 1 or 2 pushes on each one. Oops, push it back in. And I might just delete these lower ones. I don't think I need too many. You get the idea. And they're all too big to fit in, so I can select the lot collectively, Control Shift to drag a corner down to a suitable size, and then sort of place them as you wish within the cell, or within the cell wall, I guess technically. And that'll probably just about do it. Look, with those selected, I'll make them another colour. Perhaps for the mitochondria I might make that a red colour. See, that might change the cell nucleus to a darker one there. And again, if I need a few of those, actually I might delete one and just zoom in and give it a bit of a different warp selected. Warp tool. Oops, you see I've set the strength quite differently. Look, I'll stop at that again, select it, and object sprayer, and just spray a couple. Again, back to the warp tool, just to make them different. So I've got to select them first before I use the warp tool. Now back to the warp tool. Click it properly, and you can see I can change those shapes. Whoops. Okay, that'll do for now. And again, if I want to make them a bit smaller, I can, or I can enlarge them, change them all collectively. And I'll just drop a few of those. Oops. Click away and then click one. Drop some of them. Again, don't sue me over the correctness of this, how I meant the relative numbers of all of these things. But you can look that up if you need to. If you want to rotate something, click on a second time, you can rotate it round. It's a bit more random as well. So you can see pretty quickly I can get a good cell. Now the inner area there, I just realised this is a shape. If I try to click that and change the colour, of course that Control Z only changes the inner bit. So what I might do is I'll just click on this bit here, Control D to duplicate, and with that all selected I'll go Path and Break Apart, and you see that breaks it back into the two shapes that formed it. Now this one here I can click and drag across, and I want to snap it into place, so I might turn the snapping tools back on. Snaps into place, give that a fill. Now that's a separate colour, so I can delete that. So there's quite some tricky little tricks in Inkscape that you can use to get all this going. I'll just increase the size of all that in one go. If you want to dim the colours, sometimes the bright ones are good, sometimes not, I guess. Let's just check the middle section, fill and stroke. Under fill you can drag the luminosity down a bit, something that suits. Even that section there, I can drag that down if you want to do that. It's not looking too bad. Now the labels, I use the text tool, T for text, or this icon here. Click and type. It might be cell wall, the first item I'm doing. If you don't like the font while that's active, click on the font selection box. I like sans serif, it's a nice clean font for titles, and you can then Control C to copy them, and Control V if you want to paste them in different areas. You can line them up if you wanted to line them up. I could have gone Control D and duplicated and just drag them straight down, but if you're in this position, under Align and Distribute, you can line them up on the left with each other if you need to. You can change the text by T for the text tool, and then dragging the cursor over and deleting that, and changing the label. What have we got? Vacuole, Chloroplast, Nucleus. I won't necessarily do all of these. Nucleus. You can go back and click where you need to fix up, and so on. You get the idea, I guess. And then B for the Bezier pen tool, or this one here, and just click. And it's snapping there because I'm snapping to paths, which is good. You can click and enter. Click and enter. Things snap on. Click, enter. I have to check that spelling. Click. I should have moved the words a bit. Click, enter. Nucleus. Click, enter. And that doesn't look too good with the crossing over. T for the text tool. I'll just change that. Now if you want to move things around, of course you can with the select tool. I might just drag this down here. Now this arrow, if you hit it, once it's selected, N for the node tool, you can then move an individual node. That's quite handy as well. So you can see we can build up quite a nifty cell diagram using Inkscape. Hope that's of use to you, and once again thanks for watching.